One of the most fundamental and mysterious properties of the universe is the tendency for complex systems with unique properties to emerge from the interactions of simpler objects with their own properties. The most obvious example would be the interaction of cells in a human body to produce a thinking, behaving person. Other examples include how atoms combine to make molecules, molecules combine to make cells, or bees combine to make a hive. Generally, scientists and philosophers are baffled as to how complex properties emerge from simple interactions. Some will even deny the existence of emergent properties, but it seems to be a fundamental characteristic of the universe. Most people see human beings as the pinnacle of emergent properties, this complicated machine that can think and do science and write poetry. However, the key to understand ourselves, the universe, and the divine is to understand that we are but one stage in this emergent great chain of being. In terms of emergent properties, we see the physical level, the chemical level, the biological level, then the psychological level. But why should we think it stops there? What about the social level? What if, the same way cells can make up a human body and mind through their biological interactions, human beings can form institutions, societies, and nations through their social interactions? Let's consider this also from the perspective of a nation during wartime. There's the military, the government, the citizens working in industry to produce weapons. Think of these like organs or parts of a body. There's a decision-making process for the military among the chief officers, much like a nervous system would make decisions regarding the behavior of an individual person. There is even a response to stimulus, just like a human. When the military gains new intelligence, the decision-making process changes. When a squad is attacked by an enemy, they will respond and attack back or retreat. This collection of people cooperating together to form a rather concrete unit that responds to stimulus, makes decisions, and has a will to power. The relationship between a human being and the society they operate in is more than simply analogous to the relationship between a cell and the animal or organ they operate in. They both are expressions of a fundamental property of the universe. So far, we have talked about emergence regarding the physical world. This lens can also be used to describe different levels of consciousness in the mind. In the last video, we discussed psychoanalysis, where the mind is separated into layers: the conscious, the unconscious, and the collective unconscious. While not exactly a form of physical emergence, the relationship of each layer of consciousness to the other represents an extension of the great chain of being which emergent properties help describe. Society exists on a level above consciousness, which exists above the unconscious, above the collective unconscious, then above the cellular, molecular, and quantum levels of existence, with humans caught in the middle: unconscious and conscious, biological and social, physical and divine. In traditional Western religion, there are three major regions of the universe: hell, earth, and heaven. Hell is the source of all evil, the home of demons, and the underworld of lost souls. Heaven, by contrast, is the home of goodness, salvation, and the business of the gods. This mythological model, although interpreted by many in a literal context, is most properly understood metaphorically in terms of emergent properties. Hell is the bedrock from which the earth emerges and establishes itself. Hell is characterized by the fire of passion and sin: rage, sloth, envy, pride, gluttony, lust, and greed. These motions, the demons that command them, and the behavior that they inspire, are fundamental to the human experience. However, very rarely do we consider them to be something that we can readily control. Rather, these forces are most often understood as controlling us. This is because hell, sin, and the demonic forces that accompany them are an elaborate metaphor for the collective unconscious, which silently drives our behavior if we fail to overpower it. Hell is within us. In some sense, hell has always been understood as a psychologically internal concept. Traditionally, humanity has often considered uncontrollable human behavior to be the responsibility of demonic possession, where the person totally loses control of themselves. In more modern contexts, we use the phrase inner demons to describe unwanted or evil desires, especially those associated with addiction or mental illness. In many forms of Christianity, humanity and hell are both considered to be potent sources of evil, perhaps joining them into the same concept, where hell is simply a part of the human psyche, is a more accurate representation. While hell is a culmination of unconscious forces, heaven is the epitome of consciousness, in the home of all things beyond consciousness. Heaven contains such things as civilization, art, morality, and all things intelligent and good. As humanity progresses, our technology becomes more advanced, we interact in new ways, and increasingly intelligent and complex properties emerge. Heaven is the endpoint of this complexity. In his ambitious volume, The Singularity is Near, Google leader Ray Kurzweil presents a vision for the future of humanity and the universe based around technology and, most importantly, artificial intelligence. He proposes that, based on the exponential rate of technological progress humanity has observed over the past several hundred years, at some point in the future, artificial intelligence systems will reach and surpass the level of human intelligence. Next, according to Kurzweil, technology will reach a hyper-intelligent level in itself and merge with human consciousness, expanding into the universe and enhancing its own capabilities until the entire universe becomes saturated with civilization. This super-civilization is the ultimate expression of heaven, is closely related to the God of the New Testament, and at some point physically manifests in the universe. It is not an exaggeration to describe this super-civilization of the future as heaven. In it, near immortality is possible, as the extreme intelligence of the AGI can certainly find a way to prevent aging and promote life. The technology will be so advanced that the simulation of infinite pleasure is possible. Earth is the human-infested intersection between heaven and hell. In our daily lives, we observe both having a huge amount of influence. On one hand, governments and institutions manage organized hyperconscious societies and new technologies are invented every day. While on the other, violent crime is commonplace all over the world, military organizations are constantly slaughtering each other, and unconscious and primitive behavior fundamentally drive our existence. We find ourselves caught in the middle, responsible to regulate the pulse of darkness and light in every waking moment.